welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Laura.
All right, October, Texas, 1987. A woman comes home from a Halloween party. She's tired. It's the good tired, though. The kind that comes from a full day, a good week, a life that's moving in exactly the right direction. She puts on her pajamas. She makes herself something to eat, makes a few phone calls. She turns on the television. And before she goes to sleep, because she's having a little trouble settling down, because she's the kind of person who is always thinking about tomorrow. She sets her alarm clock. She has somewhere to be early in the morning. Sometime after midnight, she reached for a bottle she kept in her bathroom. Something she used regularly. Something completely ordinary. Something she'd reached for 100 times before without a second thought. By 3 a.m, she was on the phone with her sister. She said, "Something's really wrong. I'm having trouble breathing." And she never made it to the morning. Now, the cause of death wouldn't be discovered for 8 more days. And when it was, when a machine running through 4,000 different compounds finally landed on the answer, it would turn out to be something so rare, so specific, so deliberate, that investigators said there had been exactly one case like it in the entire United States in the previous 4 decades. One.
Wow.
The investigation that followed would uncover a cast of suspects with motives so compelling, so layered, and so perfectly timed that it almost reads like someone wrote it. A wax museum, a cutting horse, a financial deadline 2 weeks away, a secret dinner, an alarm that wasn't set, a private investigator combing through the ruins of a building that had burned to the ground, a man who ran when he saw police watching him, news clippings hidden in a laundry basket, and a killer who has never been charged. This is the story of Patsy Wright. And I promise you, by the time we're done today, you're going to understand exactly why I couldn't stop looking at this case. Okay, let's talk about the world Patsy lived in, because this case doesn't make sense without it. And honestly, the world she lived in is fascinating.
Okay, set the scene for me. Sounds very interesting so far.
We're in Arlington, Texas, 1987.
Okay, so something like big hair, shoulder pads, Everyone Smells Like Obsession by Calvin Klein type of era here.
100%. You're already there. But here's the thing about Arlington specifically. It's this really interesting pocket of Texas because it sits right between Dallas and Fort Worth. Like geographically and culturally, it's caught between two very different worlds.
So Dallas money and Fort Worth boots.
Exactly. You've got the Dallas side, the dynasty, the oil money, the charity galas, the women who show up to a Tuesday lunch in a full ball gown, and nobody blinks.
Like the crystal charity ball types.
Yes, which, by the way, Patsy attended annually in a Cinderella gown.
Oh, wow.
And then on the Fort Worth side, you've got rodeo culture, cutting horse competitions, ranches, people who think the Dallas crowd are a little too much. And Patsy, she moved between both worlds like she was born to do it. She could go to a charity ball on Saturday and be on a $26,000 horse at sunrise on Sunday.
Oh, very interesting. So she's living both worlds, really.
Yeah, she's able to just move between effortlessly. Now, the other thing you need to know about Arlington in 1987 is that it is booming, like economically, culturally. It is a place where things are happening. Six Flags Over Texas is right there. The Texas Rangers are playing there. It's a tourist destination. People are moving in. Money is moving around.
So, like Texas Rangers is in the baseball team?
Yes, exactly.
So, not the guys on horses with badges?
No, not them. Although,
not the Rangers.
The Rangers. Honestly, in 1987 Arlington, you could probably find both within 5 miles of each other.
Okay, fair enough.
The point is, it's a prosperous, busy social place. And in the middle of all of that sits a tourist attraction called the Southwestern Historical Wax Museum. And that's in Grand Prairie, which is right next to Arlington.
Okay, so when you said wax museum earlier, I was kind of picturing a weird roadside thing, like a converted barn with melting Abraham Lincoln or something in there.
Yes, I can completely picture that image too, but this is not that. This is a legitimate institution. We're talking Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, Billy the Kid, all kinds of historically significant figures, and really quality production.
So it's really legit wax museum.
Yeah, very legit. It was started by a man named William Bolton, which was Patsy's father, back in the early 60s. It originally opened at Fair Park in Dallas during the state fair, and at peak season, they were pulling in 12 to 13,000 visitors a day.
Wow. So really a big, booming, real business, not some roadside attraction.
Exactly. Serious business. And later he moved it to Grand Prairie, which is right in the Six Flags corridor, which genius, right? You're already there for the roller coasters. You take a break, pop in, see some wax cowboys.
Yeah, really solid Saturday there.
Absolutely. So, this museum is the foundation of everything in this story. It's where the money comes from, where the family ties are. It's where most of our motive lives, maybe. And it's where Patsy spent a huge part of her life.
So this is a family empire, right?
Yes. Yep. Built on wax and Texas history. And as we're going to find out, a whole lot of complicated relationships.
Yeah, there's always complicated relationships, especially in our stories.
Yeah, always. Now, one more thing before we talk about Patsy. The year is 1987. There are no cell phones, no ring doorbells, no digital paper trail of any kind. If you want to know what someone was doing on a given night, you're relying entirely on witnesses, physical evidence, and whether or not people are telling the truth.
Which really people are not famously good at.
Exactly. And on top of that, this is Texas in the 80s. There's this certain social ecosystem here where people protect their own. Reputation matters enormously, where a wealthy woman's social circle is small, tight, and very aware of who's in and who's out.
So when something goes wrong in that circle, really everybody already knows.
Everybody already knows, and usually everybody has something to lose.
So basically a closed room mystery set in Reagan era Texas.
Right. Throw in a wax museum and a cutting horse.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Patsy was born Patricia Virginia Bolton. Everyone called her Patsy. And I think that's important because Patsy feels like a warm name, the kind of nickname that means people actually really liked you. She was born February 24th, 1944, in Highland Park, Texas.
Oh, Highland Park. Okay. So for people who don't know, that's not just a nice neighborhood. That's like the neighborhood in Dallas. Old money, quiet streets, kind of place where lawns are always perfect. Everybody knows everybody's business, but nobody says that.
Exactly that. Patsy grew up in that world. Her father, William Bolton, worked in the oil industry, which in Texas in the 40s and 50s usually meant you were doing just fine. Thank you very much. And here's something about Patsy's family that I think sets the stage for who she was, because this is not a family that blended into the background. Patsy was the grandniece of Sam Rayburn. If that name doesn't immediately ring a bell, Sam Rayburn was the longest serving Speaker of the United States House of Representatives in American history, a Texas political titan, one of the most powerful men in Washington for decades. Patsy grew up in a family where that was just a given, where history and legacy and Texas identity were woven into everything. Her father studied Texas history as a passion. And Patsy, whether she was conscious of it or not, carried that sense of lineage, of being someone who came from something that was going somewhere. So Patsy and her younger sister Sally grew up comfortable, well connected, part of that tight Dallas social fabric that we were just talking about.
Did she have that thing where girls who grew up in that world, they're kind of expected to like marry well and host dinner parties forever?
That was absolutely the expectation. And Patsy, she did the expected things initially. She went to Hillcrest High School in Dallas with Sally. She enrolled at Texas Tech University in Lubbock.
And Lubbock is very different Texas than Highland Park, right?
Right. Basically, like a different planet. We're talking West Texas, flat as a tabletop, wind that'll take your whole personality away.
That's not a charming flat. That's just flat, flat.
Yeah, aggressively flat. But you know what Lubbock gave Patsy? Freedom and a math class.
Oh, just a math class?
Well, that's the important one because that's where she met her best friend, Karen Beatty, who becomes one of the most important people in this story. It's also where she met a young man named Bill Wright.
Oh, is this math class to husband pipeline?
Here it is. They started dating in college, and in 1965, when Patsy was 21, they got married. So she became Patsy Wright. She moved back to the Arlington area, and they had 2 children together, a daughter named Leslie and a son named William Wayne.
Okay, so they had a cute little family.
They did. And in 1973, she joins the family business, which is now the Wax Museum. She joined specifically in public relations, which honestly felt tailor made for her because, by all accounts, Patsy was magnetic.
And what do you mean by being magnetic here?
I mean, everyone who knew her described her the same way. Every single person. Her sister said she could still hear Patsy's laugh. The museum's general manager, Bill Phillips, called her outgoing, happy, independent, and said that she could knock you off your feet with enthusiasm.
That's not a polished eulogy kind of thing. That's someone who actually meant it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Someone who meant it. Here's another thing about Patsy. She wasn't just loved, she was sharp. She was building something and she knew exactly what she was building and who was in the way of it. And the business was genuinely thriving. In 1987, Patsy expected to clear $150,000 personally from the museum. Her salary for 1988 was set to jump to $250,000. She was, by any measure, easily a millionaire. And as an investor, her best friend Karen said she prized security over growth. She wasn't flashy about it, she didn't broadcast it, but she had built something real and she protected it fiercely, which, as we're going to find out, is exactly why certain people in her life were paying very close attention to what she was building.
Okay, so you also mentioned she had a best friend who was her financial advisor. Feels
Mhm.
like a specific combination there.
It is, yeah. So Karen Beatty, the woman from the math class, became a stockbroker in Dallas, and she and Patsy stayed close their whole lives. And Karen handled Patsy's finances, which is notable because Patsy was serious about money. She was serious about protecting it, serious about making sure the people who loved her were taken care of, and the people she didn't trust couldn't get their hands on what she'd built.
Sounds like she'd been burned before.
Yes. So she watched her father die and then had to fight her stepmother in court for what was rightfully hers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So William Bolton, Patsy's father, died in 1976. And when he did, it did not go smoothly. There was a vicious inheritance battle between Patsy and Sally on one side and their stepmother on the other.
Of course there was.
Yeah. There's often that kind of battle in these stories.
Yeah, for sure.
They had to go to court, but they won. Patsy and Sally came out of it as the controlling owners of the museum. But Patsy told Karen afterwards that she would never leave her affairs in disarray the way her father had. She was adamant that her children would not have to go through that kind of battle.
So really, this was a learning experience for her.
Yes. And that detail, that thing she told her best friend after her father's death, that becomes devastatingly relevant later.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's not. Now, by the mid-'80s, Patsy's life had shifted significantly. She and Bill Wright have divorced. She's remarried to a man named Bob Cox. That marriage also ends. So by 1987, Patsy is single. She's in her early 40s, and she's the co-owner of a successful wax museum. By the fall of 1987, Patsy was in love. After 2 marriages that hadn't worked and a few years of relationships that her friends described as, quote, unfortunate, she had found someone who made her happy. His name was Larry Todd. He worked for a state agency down in Austin, 3 hours away, which meant a lot of phone calls and a lot of distance. But Patsy didn't seem to mind. She was the kind of woman who knew what she wanted, and she decided Larry was worth the distance. She has a social life that would exhaust most people. She's attending the Crystal Charity Ball, one of Dallas's most prestigious events.
Like you said, in her Cinderella gown to this.
Yep. She's also discovered cutting horses, and she's competing. She's training 3 mornings a week before sunrise. She's won at the Mesquite Rodeo, and she has a $26,000 horse named Dry Leo.
It's very interesting.
Which, when you think about 26,000 in the 1980s,
Yeah.
that is a lot more today.
Yeah, that's a very expensive horse.
It is a very expensive horse. I think one of the most important things to take away from this is that she wasn't just living well, she was building actively, deliberately, with a very specific vision of what came next. She had her eye on a 30-acre ranch in a town called Aledo, which is about 50 minutes west of Fort Worth. She'd been looking at it seriously enough that she put a $1,500 deposit on it the morning she died.
Oh, wow. So that morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the morning, and then she went to the Halloween party, and then she died that night, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. She had also been meeting with an interior decorator to plan the house. She was planning to build a new house on that ranch property.
So she was going to build a house and was already planning all of that.
Yep. Designing basically the life that she was about to step into. She'd already looked at color palettes and room layouts, the whole thing. She wasn't being cautious about it. She wasn't waiting to see if the deal went through. She was already there in her mind. Like, she knew it was happening. I feel like she's the woman, when she puts her mind to something, it's going to happen.
Yes, a woman in motion with no doubts.
Mm-hmm. In preparation for moving out to the Aledo Ranch, living alone, 30 acres, really rural, her friends were worried. They pulled her aside and said, Patsy, are you sure about this? Living out there by yourself? So she went and bought a Glock automatic pistol. Not because she was afraid. She specifically had said she was not afraid. The gun wasn't about fear. It was about being prepared. She always wanted to make sure she was capable. Patsy was the kind of woman who handles things. She was the one who wore a Cinderella gown at the Crystal Charity Ball on Saturday and had a Glock in the bedside table. That was Patsy, and she wouldn't have it any other way. So all of that brings us to October 22nd, 1987, which is a Thursday. Regular day. Patsy had been back from the camping trip for several days by now. She and Leslie had celebrated Leslie's 21st birthday out in the country the week before, just the two of them. She had a great time. She was fully present, happy, making memories.
That's a good mom thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And then Patsy had come home and done exactly what Patsy always did. She hit the ground running. She had been out to Hico 3 mornings in a row, up before sunrise, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Arlington. She's driving out there to work with her trainer, whose name is Bill Alexander, and she climbs up on Dry Leo.
So Bill is her like cutting horse trainer?
Yes.
Okay. And how early are we talking? What time of morning is this?
So early, like before the world wakes up early. And because this is Texas in October, it means the sky is that particular shade of pale gold that really only happens in the fall in that area. The air has a little bit of a bite to it for the first time in months. And Patsy is on this powerful, difficult, beautiful horse, working through something she's honestly gotten good at. This was the third morning. And if she was tired, which she probably was, she didn't show it.
So she's like just still kind of trying to wake up, come out of this trip for a couple days.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't sleep great camping. Maybe they had like a full setup, but
maybe.
That morning after training, she made not one, but two significant financial moves. She put down a deposit on a mare she planned to breed, a horse she was going to add to the Alito property. And she had already asked Karen to liquidate assets to make $125,000 available for the ranch closing, which had been moved up by 2 weeks. Everything was accelerating. The life she had been designing was arriving ahead of schedule.
So she's having a pretty good day here.
Mm-hmm. She's having the kind of day where everything feels possible. And then she goes to work because that evening there's a Halloween cocktail party at the museum. They're kicking off the 1987 Halloween tour season. A big social night at, this place that her family built.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Like a Halloween party at a wax museum. Sounds like a cool event.
Right? I think so too. Patsy was there. She was working, but also enjoying the party. She was in her element. She didn't stay long, though. She was tired. All the traveling, the early mornings, preparing for this party had all caught up to her. So she left the party early. But because Patsy is Patsy, she's not quite ready to go home yet. She stops at a nearby hotel lounge. She has a beer with a friend, unwinding, a normal end of long day thing. And then she heads home. She arrives back in her house in Arlington around 9 o'clock in the evening. And the first things investigators would later note, the first thing that would become significant, is that she did not set her security alarm system.
She hadn't set it before she went to the party, or she didn't set it when she got home?
She didn't set it when she got back home.
Okay, and that's unusual for her.
Very unusual. She had that alarm installed specifically because someone had previously broken several of her windows. So setting it really was a habit. It was the thing you do before you go to bed, the way you check to make sure your doors are locked.
So either she forgot, which seems kind of out of character, or she didn't feel like she needed to that night.
Or she had a reason not to.
Like a guest or something?
Possibly. So we'll come back to that. Now she's home. The lights are on. The television's on. She makes several long-distance phone calls. We know at least one of those calls goes to her son, Wayne. And, he later said she sounded great, totally herself, fine. The other people that she called haven't been publicly released, but by all accounts, she was her normal self. Chatty, warm, in a good mood. Nothing in any of those conversations suggested anything was wrong.
So she sounded like herself, like she wasn't worried about something, like just normal.
Yep, exactly. And then at some point during the evening, She sits down for what appears to be a late dinner. This was in her bedroom with, and this is the detail that's never been fully explained, 2 plates on a tray.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 plates. Were they big plates? Because I know sometimes if I only have small plates, maybe I want one for this and one for that because I'm weird and don't like my food touching sometimes. So,
Exactly. I feel like there could be a few different options. So,
yeah.
option one is she had a guest, someone she was comfortable enough with to have this late private dinner in her bedroom. Someone who was there that night, if in fact that was what happened, they've never come forward.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a choice. Option two, and investigators did consider this, is what you said. Patsy simply used 2 plates for herself. Maybe it was just how she ate that night. Like you said, maybe she didn't want her food touching. There are options.
Yeah. Yep. And going back to, if someone was there, maybe whoever it was didn't want to be implicated in her murder, and that's why they're not coming forward.
Right. So it's either very much someone that was a part of it that was there, which is why they've
Yeah.
never come forward, or
Right.
she just wanted 2 plates.
Yeah. Which, it
Yeah.
happens.
And we mentioned Patsy was dating somebody at the time. He was in Austin that night, 3 hours away, and investigators were able to verify that.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, if it could have been him, but I was thinking if it was, you probably would have said that.
Yeah,
If he's
exactly.
3 hours away, he's not stopping by for dinner.
No. Yeah. So not him. And then, nobody else in her known circle has ever been placed at her house that evening. So whatever that second plate was, investigators have basically spent nearly 40 years not being able to determine if it was for her or for someone else.
Okay. The 2 plates is kind of interesting. But I do wonder, were they 2 big plates or 2 small plates? That makes
I
a
wonder
difference
that
in my
too.
mind.
I know. And that detail I couldn't find. So
No.
there's a lot of times where you might use 3 plates, a salad on one, a roll on one, and
Yeah.
something else. So
Yeah. Your dessert on one, your dinner on the other, a brownie on one, ice cream on the other,
or
Some
dessert
things don't
on,
touch.
yeah, dessert and dinner on separate plates.
Yeah. Even like my kids, they'll put rice on one plate and like everything else on another plate, but they don't want their rice touching their other food.
Oh,
Weird.
see, we all have things. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows?
Now, after she eats, after the phone calls, Patsy puts on pink pajamas. And sometime around midnight, she still couldn't quite fall asleep. She goes to the kitchen and makes herself scrambled eggs.
Love that.
Mm-hmm. One of the best meals. She washes them down with half a beer. And I love this detail, but it also breaks my heart at the same time because it's just so human, like not glamorous, not a woman at a charity gala in a Cinderella gown, just a woman in pink pajamas eating scrambled eggs out of the pan at midnight because she can't fall asleep and wants something to eat. And that's basically the last real thing she does because then she does what she always does when she's having trouble sleeping. She reaches for the NyQuil. She drinks about an ounce from a plastic cup, and then she goes back to her bedroom. Patsy, and this detail is important because it tells you everything about like her state of mind. She sets her alarm clock.
Which isn't something someone would do if they're trying to complete suicide or something.
Exactly. You
Like,
don't.
why would you
need
set your
that.
alarm for the morning?
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to ask you too, had she set her alarm when she went to the gala? Or do we not know that?
We don't know that for sure. We just know it was installed semi recently because of those windows being broken. And then she
Mhm.
had talked to people about how this was her routine. Setting that
Okay.
alarm was her routine. So later, when it's not set, is when we know something's a little off
Okay.
or a lot off. When investigators had arrived later, they found that alarm not set, but her alarm to wake up was ready to go off. The lead detective on this case is named Sergeant Gustafson, and he said exactly what you said. He said people who intend to kill themselves do not set alarm clocks for the next morning. He said the alarm clock is not a small detail. It is the clearest possible statement of intent from a woman who had every reason to keep on living. Now, the thing that was put in the NyQuil, it doesn't act immediately. There's a window. So she took the NyQuil, she went back to bed, and for a little while, maybe she even drifted to sleep. Everything would feel normal at first.
Yeah, until it didn't.
Till it began to feel catastrophically, inexplicably wrong. At approximately 3 a.m, she picks up the phone and calls Sally.
How wrong are we talking? She felt like she couldn't breathe.
Yeah, wrong enough to call somebody in the middle of the night and wake them up and tell them that she's scared. Something is wrong. Sally's husband, Steve, answers when Patsy calls. Patsy says she needs to talk to Sally, so Steve wakes her up. When Sally gets on the phone, Patsy tells her exactly what's happening in this terrified, it doesn't make any sense kind of way. She said, I just took some NyQuil and something's really, really wrong. I'm having trouble breathing.
Did she think it was just like a reaction to the medicine?
I would assume so. That hasn't been explicitly stated, but that's what it sounds like to me. Like,
Yeah.
somehow it's interacting with something else, having this allergic reaction or something. And, Patsy has taken NyQuil 100 times before. And it doesn't seem like the idea that someone had gotten to the bottle, like it was deliberate, that someone had chosen this for her. She didn't seem to think any of that. She was confused, called her sister. She just didn't know what was wrong, but it didn't really make sense that it was from something she'd taken 100 times before.
Yeah. What happened next?
During that call, she collapsed. So Sally and Steve jump up, they get in the car, they spend 10 minutes driving across Arlington to get to Patsy's house. When Sally and Steve arrived at Patsy's house that night, after racing across Arlington, unable to call for an ambulance directly because Patsy's 911 service didn't cover her rental address yet in 1987. Sally didn't have a key. She had been to Patsy's house plenty of times, but she didn't have a key. And here's the thing. Patsy kept spare keys. Those keys were gone. Sometime before October 22nd, nobody can say exactly when, the spare keys that Patsy kept had disappeared. Steve had to crawl through a cracked bedroom window to let Sally in through the front door. Someone had those keys or had used them and hadn't brought them back. The alarm that wasn't set, the keys that weren't there, someone had already been inside or tried to get inside in ways that don't have innocent explanations. By the time they get there, whatever was in that NyQuil had already done what it was designed to do. Steve performed CPR on Patsy. He even got the green NyQuil mixture in his own mouth in the process and was spitting it out. You don't want that in your mouth. Emergency services arrived, but the amount that was put in the NyQuil, we're going to talk about that next, had probably already began killing her before Sally even got in the car.
It's awful.
Awful.
So it was a green.
The green NyQuil.
The green NyQuil. So he was getting that in his mouth, but didn't realize that it was something else, or it looked like NyQuil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure whenever you're doing CPR, if you're getting stuff, you don't. Yeah.
You're not going to.
Right.
Well, sometimes with CPR, you can't make them throw up.
Mm.
So it could have been that.
Sounds like that's what happened.
Yeah.
Patsy Bolton Wright, only 43 years old, still in pink pajamas, was pronounced dead in the early hours of October 23rd, 1987, while it was still dark outside. And for 8 days, the world believed a woman had taken some cold medicine and died of a reaction. Some tragedy. It was shocking, but it wasn't considered a crime. And her son, Wayne, who was 20 years old when she died, said flatly to reporters after her death, he said, "I know she didn't commit suicide. I just know it. When I talked to her on the phone that night, she was fine. She sounded great."
He sounds pretty confident in
He
that.
was. And not just him, everyone else who knew her well said the same thing. They had a memorial service. The flowers were sent. The family was grieving. And then an autopsy changed everything. Before I tell you about the autopsy, I need to tell you about a patrolman named Patrick Bridges. When emergency services responded to Patsy Wright's house, Officer Bridges was one of the people on that scene. He watched the paramedics work. He watched them fail. He watched Patsy be rushed to the hospital. And before he left the house, on his own instinct, with no particular direction from anyone, he walked into Patsy's bathroom. He picked up a bottle of NyQuil and he dropped it into an evidence bag. No one told him to. There was no reason at that point to think that there was anything wrong with the cold medicine. As far as anyone knew that night, a woman had taken NyQuil and had some kind of terrible reaction and died. Patrolman Bridges bagged the bottle anyways. And that decision, the small, instinctive, completely unordered decision, is one of the very few reasons this case ever became a murder investigation at all. The county medical examiner's office performed an autopsy 8 days after Patsy's death. Standard procedure in their county was to run blood and tissue samples through a mass spectrometer, a $100,000 machine that compared samples against the chemical fingerprints of more than 4,000 compounds. 4,000 different compounds. This wasn't specifically ordered because anyone suspected foul play. It's just what the county did. Routine, methodical, unremarkable. 18 to 20 minutes after Patsy's blood samples went into that machine, the computer readout spiked dramatically. When asked to identify the substance, the computer produced one word: strychnine. Sergeant Gustafson was at his desk when Dr. Mark Krause, the county deputy medical examiner, called him. "Are you sitting down?" Krause asked. "I haven't seen anything like this in 20 years. She'd been poisoned with strychnine." Gustafson heard the word strychnine, and in that moment, he remembered something. The police report from the night Patsy died, there had been a mention. A NyQuil bottle bagged by a patrolman before he left the scene. The sergeant got up from his desk. He went to the police evidence room and retrieved the 6-ounce NyQuil bottle that Patrolman Bridges had dropped into an evidence bag 8 days earlier. He had the remaining liquid tested. Confirmed. Patrolman Bridges bags the bottle on instinct. The county runs its blood screen. The machine spikes. Krause calls Gustafson. Gustafson remembers the police report and gets the bottle. If you remove any single link from that chain, this case never opens. Patsy Wright is buried as an indeterminate death. The NyQuil bottle gets thrown away, and whoever put that strychnine in it goes home and moves on. Every step of that chain mattered, every single one. Dr. Tom Kurt, who's a toxicologist at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, he consulted during this investigation. He explained it directly. Strychnine does not show up on an ordinary poison screen. used by medical examiners. The standard toxicology screening, the kind that gets run routinely when someone dies unexpectedly, it doesn't catch strychnine. It's not on the default panel. Like we mentioned in the opening, only one person had been poisoned with strychnine in the last 4 decades before this happened. So it takes a specific, comprehensive, targeted test to find it. And in 1987, nobody in that emergency room had any reason to run that test. As far as they could see, a woman had taken cold medicine and had a catastrophic reaction. The county medical examiner's office placed the cause of death in an indeterminate gray area. So at first, they didn't rule it a suicide or a homicide. They just left it unclear.
So whoever chose to use that poison knew it wasn't a routine thing that they checked for, and really not something anyone would probably look at when they first took her in to the ER.
Exactly. They probably very well knew exactly that. It wouldn't show up on a routine screen, and as long as they didn't run anything more comprehensive and just went with the bad reaction to cold medicine, the likely outcome was an indeterminate ruling, in a case that wasn't even a case. I'm sure they thought that Patsy would be buried and the world would move on. They'd throw away her NyQuil and never be found out what had been used to poison her.
Yeah, I mean, they probably almost got away with it.
Yeah, exactly. When investigators went and got the NyQuil bottle and tested it, what they found inside was strychnine in pure powder form, the most concentrated type available.
So what does that mean in this context?
It means that this wasn't something scraped off of like a pesticide strip or diluted from like a household product. Pure powder form in 1987 was available through fewer than 100 regulated outlets nationwide, and all sales were strictly regulated by the federal government. So this isn't something you can just pick up at the pharmacy or the hardware store. Someone had to know exactly where to get it.
Yeah, and know what to do with it, really.
Right. Yes. Here's where I need to tell you about the dose, because that's its own particular horror. The sergeant, who is the lead detective, said plainly 1 year after Patsy's death, he said, quote, "With the strychnine, they don't just want to poison somebody, they want it to be an excruciating death. This wasn't a fleeting thought."
That's horrifying.
Horrifying. The evidence supported what he said completely. The dose placed in that bottle was described by investigators as, quote, "gross overkill." So saturated and so far beyond what was necessary to kill someone that the strychnine had actually begun to settle at the bottom of the bottle as sediment, like visible sediment, which means if you look closely at that NyQuil bottle, you might have been able to see that something was wrong with it.
Interesting. I mean, she wouldn't have thought to look for that.
Right.
And if she did, she might have thought it was just something with the NyQuil and shook it up,
Right. Oh my gosh. I could totally imagine that. That like happens with Pepto-Bismol sometimes. Like it needs shaken, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you might look at that and be like, ooh, I've never seen this before. Maybe this one's gone bad.
Right.
But if it's late at night, she just grabbed it, took it to go to bed. She probably wasn't looking at the bottom of it to check it.
How closely are you looking? Like you walk into your bathroom, barely have a light on. I mean,
yeah.
When you're sick or trying to go to sleep, whatever, pour it real quick and go back to bed because you're getting up in 5 hours or 4 hours or whatever.
Right.
So strychnine comes from the seeds of a tree called Strychnos nux vomica. That tree is native to India and Southeast Asia. It's been used historically as a pesticide, a rat poison. It works by attacking the central nervous system. So specifically, it blocks the receptors in your spinal cord that are responsible for stopping muscle contractions. So your body's designed, to contract and then release. Strychnine removes the release.
So your muscles are just contracting continuously then.
Right. Every muscle in your body.
Every muscle, your heart.
Simultaneously and without stopping. So this causes full body convulsions of extraordinary violence. In documented cases, the body can arch so dramatically that only the back of the head and the heels are in contact with the surface beneath you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And it's worse because throughout all of it, throughout every single moment, you're completely conscious. Your brain is entirely aware of what is happening in your body. And because the muscles involved include the ones that control breathing, it produces an overwhelming sensation of suffocation, not being able to get enough air in.
That's awful. So that's what she was saying to Sally. I'm having a hard time breathing.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what she said. And you think about having a reaction to a medication, it does kind of maybe feel like that. If it's something that you're allergic to and didn't know, it does feel like you're having a hard time breathing. So I'm sure she's thinking this is just some kind of bad reaction to the NyQuil.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you take medications, maybe you kind of feel that way. Maybe when you are having a reaction to them, you feel like your heart's pounding or, kind of that epinephrine release where you feel like your heart's pounding and it's hard to catch your breath. And I'm sure that's what she thought was happening at the beginning.
Agreed.
It's horrible.
So awful.
How long does it normally take for strychnine to take effect and cause this to happen?
It's not fast. Death by strychnine is considered by toxicologists to be among the most painful ways a human being can die.
Ugh, that's awful.
Awful. Dr. Kurt said it's a terrible way to kill someone, and it's almost an unimaginably rare choice for a homicide. When she initially took it, it takes a while to start working, but then once it starts working, it's still not super fast. So we don't know how long she'd been feeling like that before she called her sister. But then between that call, talking to Sally, and then their 10-minute drive to her house, in that amount of time, Patsy had died.
That's awful.
The interesting thing about this, we mentioned there's only been one case before Patsy's. It's something that is really difficult to get, and it's something that takes planning. This is someone who didn't just go and grab, Visine that was already in their medicine cabinet. This is something that you have to plan to obtain. You have to have knowledge to use it correctly and plan to do this and then just wait for a night when she takes it.
Yeah, because who knows how long it had been sitting in there.
Exactly. Especially if she didn't take it camping or whatever. They could have done it while she had gone camping, or they could have done it that same day. It's impossible.
So really, there's no alibis.
What?
Who knows when they I said, no one has an alibi. That means.
Exactly.
Because anyone who knew her alarm code could have gone in and done this anytime.
Yep.
Really.
Absolutely. I don't think it's something that you're like, hey, I took NyQuil last night. I took NyQuil the night before and the night before and the night before. I don't think anyone knows how frequently, at least it hasn't been put out, because that's a really good point about not having an alibi. Like, they call it an alibi that her boyfriend was in Austin.
Yeah.
But really, that's just he wasn't there at her house right then having dinner with her. It's not an alibi really for anything else.
Right. Because like you said, she was out camping.
Exactly.
She drives an hour and a half to train every morning. There's a lot of times that she's not home.
Right. She's even at the Halloween party earlier that her museum is putting on.
Yeah.
There's a really big window of opportunity there. The day after the strychnine was confirmed, Gustafson convened a roundtable. He brought together Dr. Krauss, the chief ME, representatives from the EPA and the FBI, the Dallas Police Department's Intelligence Division, and a representative from the Vicks Corporation, which was the company that manufactures NyQuil. They checked the lot number on Patsy's bottle. No other poisoning cases had been reported from the same lot. No other bottles from that production run had turned up tampered. This was not a consumer product poisoning. This was not a random act of contamination. The FBI representative ruled out product tampering officially and stepped back, leaving the case entirely with Gustafson. Gustafson, who went by Gus, was exactly what you'd picture when you picture a Texas homicide detective. Stocky, sandy hair, mustache, well-worn boots, Western-cut shirts with pearl snap buttons, and pants held up by a championship rodeo belt buckle the size of a saucer. Years on the homicide squad, the kind of investigator whose instincts had been earned, not assigned. And from the moment this folder landed on his desk, his instincts told him something was wrong. This was a targeted attack on one specific woman, in one specific bottle by someone who knew exactly which bottle she would reach for. According to an EPA spokesman consulted during the investigation, only about 100 companies around the country used or sold strychnine at the time. 100 out of the entire United States, and someone still managed to get it.
This wasn't a new bottle. Is that what they're saying? Because it wasn't like she got it from the store. Someone had tampered it in the making of this bottle. She had used it. It was open. It was at her house. Someone had put this in there after she had opened it and used it before.
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like it was a brand new bottle. And I don't think it could be, because how do you get that in without her noticing that unless they didn't have the safety thing?
Is that what they were looking at? If it was put in there before she purchased it?
Yeah.
So if it was from like the manufacturer, that's probably what they were looking for, right?
Yes, exactly. So is this going to be another Tylenol situation? Do we have to pull them all off the shelves type thing?
Yeah.
Which had only happened 5 years before.
So this likely was sealed and everything before she bought it because of those regulations.
Exactly. Because all of those tampering laws came from the Tylenol murders. So that maybe made it harder for somebody to poison hers because they would have to wait till it was open, because by then people need to pay attention to that.
Right.
Now, it took 2 years. It wasn't until September of 1989 that the county medical examiner would officially change the ruling on Patsy's death certificate from undetermined to homicide. So they waited until they'd had 2 years of investigation, a review of her psychological profile, because they were still looking at the suicide possibility, and everything that happened in between. The documents filed stated plainly that the review showed no significant risk of suicide, and that this factor, along with other circumstances, resulted in the change of ruling to homicide.
Wow. So it took 2 years to make it official.
Yes. And when her daughter Leslie heard, she told reporters, "I've always known in my heart it was a homicide. I'm glad they finally said it was." Now the case is officially homicide. Gustafson has the ruling he's always believed was right. And he has this specific, deliberate, rare poison. There's only one question now.
Really? Yeah. Who put it there?
Exactly. Who put it there? And then you follow it up with how they knew to put it in there, in that bottle, in her bathroom, because those answers, as we're about to find out, narrow the field considerably. It means this was not a stranger. This was not random. This was someone who knew Patsy in the close, private, intimate way that gives you access to her habits and her home and the bottle she reaches for when she can't sleep.
Right. Someone she trusted, probably because she has this alarm system. Either they did it when they were at her house or they knew how to get into her house without
Right?
setting that off, is my
Exactly.
thought.
Yeah. And I really don't know that I believe somebody would have done it while she were home.
Right. But that is a possibility, someone that she had let into her house.
It is, right? Which, I mean, okay, still, if they're in your bathroom, someone you trust. So, Arlington police are now working a homicide. The man who catches this case, who's going to spend the next stretch of his career living inside this mystery, is the detective that we mentioned, Sergeant Jay Gustafson.
And what do we know about him?
He was methodical. He was known for being absolutely thorough. He had the kind of instincts that come from 9 years on the Arlington police force. And here's the thing, from the very first moment that he looked at this case, really before the autopsy even came back, everything about this scene sat wrong to him. He told reporters later he had never bought the natural causes explanation, not even for a second.
So he really just knew from the beginning.
Yeah. And then once that strychnine result came back, once it was confirmed that this was deliberate, he said something that I found really interesting. If Wright was killed, the culprit, it would have to be someone with a grudge against her because she was killed with a vengeance.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like when they're talking about how this poison works and it's very painful. Definitely sounds like someone who had something against her.
Agreed. That phrase really, I think, tells you how he read all the evidence he could find, at least from day one. This wasn't a practical killing. To me, it seems like someone who thinks they can get away with it. They just need
Yeah,
one or two lucky breaks. And this person did such an overkill dose, using the pure powder form, putting in as much as they did. To the detective, this felt personal. It felt like someone who was angry. And whatever the surface motive turned out to be, he said underneath it was something that felt like rage dressed up in patience.
wow, that's a chilling combination, rage and patience to be able to do this.
Absolutely. Chilling, also dangerous, because when you think about it, rage without patience, that makes mistakes. But rage with patience plans, and whoever killed Patsy planned very carefully. So Gustafson is walking into this house where there's no crime scene in a traditional sense. There's no struggle, no forced entry, really no sign that anything violent happened there at all.
Because who even knows when the violence was committed?
Hmm.
Who knows how long it had been in there?
Exactly. The act of murder had already happened the moment someone opened that NyQuil bottle and put strychnine in it. Everything after that was just waiting, which also means there might not be fingerprints, might have been a long time. There might be no evidence in this house at all of who was in there because you have no idea when they were in there.
Right. That makes it just so much harder to work with.
Yeah, exponentially. You have no point of physical confrontation to trace, no weapons in a traditional sense. You can't send for ballistics. There's no obvious point of entry. And, again, 1987, we have no cell phone data to place someone at a location. Security cameras on residential streets aren't common. There's no DNA forensics in any meaningful investigative sense. Really, it's pretty wild how little there is to go off of when you think about a traditional crime scene compared to this one.
Yeah.
So Gustafson is working almost entirely from witness accounts, physical observation, behavioral evidence, and instinct, which, sometimes takes you further than people give it credit for. And almost immediately, within the first sweep of Patsy's house and the first round of interviews, the sergeant identifies two details, two things that he says don't fit. They sit wrong in a way that he just can't shake.
I do have a question about the strychnine. You said it's hard to get. Like, how does someone get this? Is there a way to trace people who have gotten this?
There is supposed to be. So there were only 100 places that you could buy it from. You had to have ID. They were supposed to be tracking it. But there are some professions, as we'll find out, where you do order it because you're using it for other things. So somebody that knew, say, someone else that's ordering it that way can always.
What other things do they use this for?
Mostly just for rodent pest control. Strychnine was available to farmers to kill rats, moles, gophers. EPA restrictions on it were already tightening because, unfortunately, it's also toxic to the non-target animals, like pets or, say, birds that ate the poisoned rodents would then get sick and die.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Interesting. So what are the two things that he found that he couldn't shake?
The first one was the security system.
That she hadn't said it that night?
Yeah.
That one seems, I don't know. I wonder how long it can be in the NyQuil, if that changes anything with it. If it is possible, it could have been in there for days. You know what I mean? Because if that's true, then it wouldn't matter about the alarm system.
Totally. But also outside of that, then why didn't she set it?
Yeah. Maybe she had set it, and then when she got up to make the eggs and stuff, she turned it off to take something outside, took the NyQuil, and then started not feeling good and didn't reset it.
Maybe. Possible. But
maybe she had turned it off for her sister because when I don't know if she wasn't feeling good and she called her sister.
I actually wondered that too. And because she did collapse while she was on the phone with Sally.
Yeah.
I don't know that she had time to get up
probably
and move
didn't
around.
have time.
Right.
Yeah, because it's not like it's on your phone like it is now.
Exactly.
Well, for mine anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wondered that, like, if she decided to take out the garbage when she threw the eggshells away or something, maybe she turned it off and then was going to reset it, but went and took her medicine and then wasn't feeling quite right. So didn't turn it back on. How long after she took it did she call Sally?
They don't know exactly. They're guessing anywhere from 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, so it was a while.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things. It does take a minute. Strychnine is chemically very stable. It's one of the more durable alkaloids toxicologically, which is notable. Strychnine resists degradation from light, heat, and hydrolysis at neutral to mildly acidic pH. Strychnine doesn't break down on any meaningful timescale in a stored liquid. There is forensic data that has documented strychnine still detectable and toxicologically active in exhumed remains. So being exhumed, still active.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, old poison cases decades later.
Wow.
Sometimes over a century. So this thing is lethal and incredibly stable.
Yeah.
Also, the NyQuil could have been spiked days, weeks, or theoretically months before Patsy took the dose, depending on how often she took it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was saying. I think that opens the field a bit more for alibis.
Oh, absolutely. And putting it in NyQuil is a little bit smart because NyQuil in 1987 contained 10% alcohol, which acts as a preservative. So it
yeah.
preserves the strychnine in it and it doesn't break it down at all.
That's really interesting.
Yes. The taste of NyQuil is a classic reason that strychnine's intensely bitter taste, which is usually detectable at very low concentrations by most people, can be masked. Like the
Interesting.
bad taste of the NyQuil gets you over the taste of the strychnine because they say detectable even in very low concentrations. And we know that hers was a very high concentration.
Yeah. People hate the taste of NyQuil most of the time. So,
yeah, unless you're my husband. He loves black licorice. And I think that's what NyQuil tastes like.
yeah.
Okay. To be very honest, I don't know why her not setting the security system is one of the two things that this detective points out. I can think of a lot of reasons to forget. I know that it was installed for a reason. We know several windows at her house were broken, and it scared her enough to take action. Both her aunt and her sister brought up she got this alarm system for a reason.
Right.
The detective also found that her friends and her family, basically everybody, knew if you were going in her house at night or whatever, the alarm system would be on. They all knew that it was just an automatic for her.
Yeah.
When Gustafson looked at this, he thinks, okay, either she forgot, which is possible, but deeply out of character because he finds out she's really careful, or she turned it off deliberately, maybe because she didn't feel she needed that night. He is thinking that maybe someone else was there with her earlier. Maybe they were leaving, whatever. Maybe they had dinner, laid down to go to sleep, but he was leaving before her, so she didn't turn it on. But she didn't feel in danger because someone was there with her.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or maybe someone had the code, so even if she did turn it on, they turned it off when they left.
Right. Another strong possibility, which really makes that person even closer to her. You don't give your alarm code to acquaintances. You give it to people you trust, yes, but not just people you barely know.
Right. Unless it was someone you had used before, like to water your plants while you're gone, or, something like that. A house sitter kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
They might give it to somebody else. I mean, that's a possibility too.
I mean, also, I guess your code.
That's true.
If you know a little bit of information about somebody, maybe you're not close enough to have their code, but you might be able to guess it, which I don't know. I don't know if that's anything, but.
Well, that was her alarm system monitored by a company. I'm guessing it probably was.
Yeah.
I don't think that was an option in the past.
No.
Because I remember ours was growing up. We set it off and they call you and give them the password and stuff.
How many of those calls do you remember answering growing up?
A few.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was always uncomfortable.
Yes. I was wondering if they could see the times it was turned off.
Oh.
If it was turned off and reset at a weird time or when she wasn't home, if her family could have looked at that, if they had that record. I don't know.
I wonder if that's how our detective over here knows that it was never turned on that night. And also, maybe that's how he knows she always turned it on instead of just taking people's word for it.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
But then you wonder too, could they have looked at times when she was gone? Maybe while she was camping, was it turned off and turned back on?
Mm-hmm. But now you would be able to see where someone's phone was. Say that happened while she was camping. you'd be able to like geolocate or use one of the app's location devices. But back then, like, yes, you could see it was turned on and off, and that might rule people out. But also, I don't think it could tell you anything more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. And that is a good thought. Maybe that's how they know it was never set and that it was always set. Maybe they did look at that.
Well, and I will say,
I hope so.
I didn't
hope
think
they did.
about the monitoring side of it. So that was a really good thought. From your perspective, I was thinking he got that information from being on scene and talking to family, but
And you don't know. Maybe they don't have that information of when it's turned on and turned off. I don't know. I would guess that they would.
gonna have to look into that. Yeah.
If you're paying for monitoring, I would hope that they didn't just, I don't know how it works. If
Wait
they
for it to
only
go
get a
off.
notification when it is alarming, maybe that's what they do. Maybe they can't see all that extra data. I don't know.
Have you accidentally set off mom and dad's, by the way?
At their house?
Yeah.
Now?
It's so loud.
I don't know,
Like,
but I have the same thing and it is very loud.
Breaking in, yeah, I would run the other way.
Yeah, I have the same alarm and
you?
I have definitely set it off because I'll turn it on. Like if I'm home working alone, I'll turn it on and then I'll go out for lunch and let the dog out and set it off.
Yeah, so then you're running to go turn it off before they call you, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
I've also set it off in the middle of the night on accident.
Oh, shoot.
Because my daughter likes to set the alarm when she's going to bed because she feels safer that way.
Sure.
So a lot of times our alarm is turned on by 7:30 at night. And if I forget to turn it off,
go out after that.
yes. Or if one of my other kids isn't home yet, we have to turn it off.
Yep.
So I've accidentally alarmed it. And I'm always shocked. I'm like, you guys didn't wake up to that? That is so loud.
They
so loud.
don't wake up?
Sometimes they don't.
Oh my gosh.
It shocks me.
That's wild. Okay, now clue number 2. And this one, I think we could talk about back and forth both ways. It's the 2 plates on a tray. And I don't know if maybe the investigators didn't need 2 plates or if it's because it's in combination with the alarm system. But they found this to be really telling. Like she had somebody over, she was comfortable enough to have in her bedroom, eating food like in bed before she died. I want to be precise about how this came to light because the source of this detail matters. When Steve arrived at Patsy's house that night and found her unresponsive on the bed, he said he moved a table with 2 plates on it away from the bed so he could perform CPR. He reported this to investigators. A table with 2 plates in the bedroom, and he's the one who told police it was there. Here's what's interesting. When investigators went back to the other people who had been in the room that night, the firefighters who responded, the paramedics who worked on Patsy, none of them remembered seeing the table and the plates. Now, that could mean a lot of things. Emergency scenes are chaotic. People focus on what they're focused on. It's entirely possible everyone else simply didn't notice. But Sergeant Gustafson noticed the discrepancy, and he wondered, was Steve telling the truth about the plates? Was there really a dinner guest that night? Someone unknown? Someone Patsy had invited into her room for a private meal? Or was there no second plate at all? And that question has never been answered, and it changes how you think about everything that follows.
Well, were there not only 2 plates, but 2 forks? And was there still food on the plates that were the same thing? That might be more telling too. If one has cake and one has dinner, obviously you might assume that's hers, but maybe they could see it was half a meal of the same thing on each plate.
None of it is public information. So they only say 2 plates on a tray in the bedroom. And here's my thought on that. If it were two separate people, maybe two trays. Like,
Maybe.
if it were just me, I could see bringing in two plates on one tray. Like,
Yeah.
I'll also do like a thing of salsa and a thing of queso separately and a thing of chips. And now it looks like I'm having a full party, but it's just me. But it's all in the
Yeah.
same thing, right?
Right.
They have never confirmed what food remnants were on them, whether or not there were two sets of utensils, whether there were two glasses. And I feel like a lot of times when they don't put something up, that also says something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're going to say anything about the two plates if they can clearly tell they're just hers. Like, say they
Right.
clearly have different things on it. There's one fork, one glass on one tray.
Yeah.
But I also don't know. I don't know if they cleaned up before the police got there. Her case was featured on Unsolved Mysteries eventually. And he also says that again. The two plates on the tray next to the bed. Again, I don't know if they moved those and he just told police or where that comes in. He's also
Sally's husband.
And we'll talk a lot more about him in the next episode. He's the one who introduced the theory of this secret dinner guest.
Mm.
And that may have been completely true. It may have been just her two plates, but it doesn't seem like police had the opportunity to check what was on them, where it was located. Like, a lot of times we see people are helping by cleaning up someone's house because they're going to come back. Of course, they're going to come back, right? But when they don't, it makes our crime scene a little less understandable. We lose clues and details, or it's not true at all. We don't
Well,
know.
that seems very odd that they would clean it anything, that they would touch anything because she had passed by the time they got there.
But they were
Right?
giving her CPR. They called 911. I don't know if they called 911 on their way over, but she was taken to the hospital. And I'm sure, like,
So they probably thought she would make it.
Yeah, as a loved one, you're thinking, this is as soon as she gets, a shot of epinephrine, she'll be fine. Of course she will. She's young, she's healthy. You don't imagine that you're going to lose her.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I was thinking about the John and Shelley Markley case where they cleaned up the coffee cups to help clean up the house for when they came back.
Yeah.
Like, we see it. You can always come up with a reason. People are being helpful and kind, and they don't think it's a crime scene because you don't think the worst thing happened.
Right. And they thought it was a reaction to the NyQuil. That makes sense.
And you're thinking, this is something I know she likes to take to fall asleep. She's taken it before. It can't be that bad of a reaction.
Yeah.
But the two things side by side. So having the two plates, not having the alarm set, all of that together is what led investigators to believe she had someone over that she was extremely comfortable with. Could have been a girlfriend, could have been a guy friend. Maybe she's dating multiple people, but no one has ever come forward to say that they were with her that night.
Interesting.
But then that leads back to, is that even important? Because there is a world where she could have had someone over. She could have forgotten to set the alarm after they left. They had dinner together. Then she made scrambled eggs. Then she took the NyQuil, which could have been poisoned. We don't know when. It might just be this red herring detail in this case.
Yeah.
The lead sergeant on this case also threw out the theory that this person could have been a bridge to someone else. So someone that had the rage plus the patience that got this person to be in Patsy's life, to be close enough to her. He throws out the theory that they could have been the ones to get paid, maybe, to poison her. And it could have been someone she didn't trust which really just opens up your possible suspects like exponentially.
Right. That's true.
And when he talked about that theory, he compared the killer to a trapper. So someone who studies that path their prey walks down, knows the habits, knows the routes, the routines, sets the trap carefully, and then walks away. So that when the trap goes off, they're somewhere else entirely. In a crowd, in an alibi, whatever, maybe nowhere near her location for months. You don't even know how far back this went, which is what makes it so much more complicated.
So complicated, especially with the things we've talked about and how long that poison can sit in that NyQuil. Who knows how often she does take it?
Right. What if she buys a 3-pack at Costco? Was Costco around in 1987?
Maybe she does take it a lot and she was stocked up. Like who knows?
Right.
This person could have been anywhere.
Right.
When it happened.
Far away for months.
Yeah.
Really, this crime is like the most premeditated in the purest possible sense. Like not just planned, studied. They knew her. They knew her home, her habits, and they're really cold and calculating because they chose the rarest, most agonizing poison available, somehow got it through regulated channels in a way that really has never surfaced for investigators. They were able to get it into her house, and honestly, they almost got away with it.
Right, because for 8 days, and if they hadn't run that specific test, they would have gotten away from it. They had the memorial. They were thinking it was not a homicide that was undetermined, but
they didn't have it labeled as that really for 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Gustafson took this case and ran with it. He builds a suspect list. He starts pulling threads. And what he finds when he starts looking at the people in Patsy's inner circle is this multiple different motives, so dense and so layered that it has kept investigators, journalists, private detectives arguing about what the actual motive was for nearly 4 decades.
How many people are we talking about here?
Enough that when the sergeant was asked directly if he had a prime suspect, he said, everybody's a suspect.
Yeah, basically. I mean, everyone that knew her, it seems like.
Basically, which that answer is either the most honest thing an investigator can say when they don't know, or the most chilling acknowledgement that the killer is someone so embedded in Patsy's life that narrowing it down feels impossible.
Or both. Sorry.
Absolutely. Possibly both. Now, this is terrifying to me. Almost everyone in Patsy's inner circle had something to gain from her death. And some of those somethings are very, very specific.
Like how specific are we talking about?
Well, there's a meeting 2 weeks away that Patsy really needed to attend and never made it to. And whoever knew about that meeting,
they had some kind of deadline. They didn't want her at that meeting.
Right. Possibly had a deadline and met it. Now,
which kind of throws a wrench in our other theory that it was in whatever bottle in her bathroom, because if the meeting was the motive to keep her away from, they would have had to do something they knew she would take within those 2 weeks.
True.
And in the bottle, they knew she would take it from.
Now, unfortunately, that's just one motive from one person. And there are so many others. So our one theory can be correct depending.
Okay, never mind then. I guess I'll keep listening.
Well, that is where we're going to leave it for part 1. When we come back, we are going to get into all of these motives, all of these suspects, how they might have done it and why, and maybe see if we can land on who we think it might have been. Because again, nearly 4 decades later, investigators still don't know.
Wow.
All right.
How are we nearly 4 decades from 1987, by the way?
I don't know, but it's scary because it went fast.
I know. Wasn't that 20 years ago?
Basically, in my mind, it is.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, part 2 will be available in your feed tomorrow morning. If you enjoyed this case, please leave us a rating or a review, specifically on Apple or Spotify. We would love if you would be a subscriber to our YouTube. We're actively working on building that up. If you want to read more about this case or see the resources that we use to write it, check out our blog, which is on our website, crimeclueless.com. Connect with us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Crime Clueless. And thank you for listening. As always, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murders.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.